Today we continue exploring the weird, edgy world of Filippo Sorcinelli. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and this is Fragrance Speed Dating with Filippo Sorcinelli, Part 2. Welcome back to another episode of Fragrance Speed Dating, the new format on my channel where I sample a ton of fragrances, usually from a house or from a genre, very quick and dirty, very first impressions. Today's video is part 2 of the Filippo Sorcinelli discovery experience. I've been tackling this box in part 1, so I do recommend you watch that before just to get an idea of what Filippo Sorcinelli is. But needless to say, Filippo Sorcinelli is a quite different house from the usual. It's an uber niche house which focuses on really abstract artsy themes manned by Filippo Sorcinelli, the guy himself. He is a tailor. He makes clothes for the Vatican. He makes clothes for cardinals and priests. And he is also a sculptor and a perfumer. A lot of his perfumes are, again, very edgy, very contrasting. They cover very rough topics, not necessarily politically correct, definitely not religious correct or religious compatible. Filippo Sorcinelli, the guy, seems really interesting. He also plays the organ for a church. I'm really interested in the guy's background, how he came to be, how this whole contrasting, edgy idea came to life, and ultimately, how did the religious part of him really embrace this thing? Before we start, let me just remind you how all this works. I'll be sampling a number of fragrances, in this case, the remaining 6 from this box. I'll be spraying them on strip because this format is quick and dirty, and given the number of fragrances that I tend to sample in this format, I really don't have space on skin. Also, in order to differentiate my experience in this format from my other ones, namely a lot more longer length content, a lot more longer length testing, I really want to give the fragrances an unbiased, fair comparison, and sampling on strip completely removes any kind of skin chemistry, any kind of background smell. Another thing that I really want to point out is that in this video format, I'll be strictly sampling the opening of the fragrances. I will not go back to the dry down. I will not go back and wear them on skin. This is very much speed dating style where the first impression is the lasting impression. And although I sample fragrances with the lowest tier of engagement in this format, there is a chance that a fragrance that I really like might graduate to one of the other formats. It might graduate to a first impression comparison, which is the case of a couple zoologists that I sampled last time because they're beautiful. Or it might even graduate to being a full bottle in my collection, in which case the fragrance will benefit from a full lengthy detailed review as my usual. Once again, if you haven't watched part 1, I think it's fun, I think it's entertaining, and it gives you an idea of what the house is like. Just to recap for whoever wasn't there, last time we opened the box, we got the card, and we sampled But Not Today, we sampled Opus 1144, we sampled Pioggia Debole, Quickie and Coffee, Heck Dies, Lentezza Carezza, and today we're going to be tackling some of the darker scents, at least liquid-wise. The first one is Io non ho mani che mi accarezzano il volto. Second one is Violon Basse 16. Third one is Lux Visionaria. Then we have Quando rapita in estasi. Next one is Contre Bombarde 32. And last but not least, Reliquia. I know nothing about the fragrances. I have not gone to the website to look what these fragrances are about. I am very curious, but I plan on doing this after this video. Also, one thing I did do though is I wanted to check out if there was any sort of a connection between these fragrances, if the discovery kit came from like a bundle, a specific bundle, because last fragrances were very connected by this foggy, misty type of vibe. And no, these are not connected at all. These come from various collections. And actually, all these fragrances were selected, I think, by vote, which I don't remember voting to. And they were purchased by one of the fragrance buddies that organized this whole thing. Once again, shout out to Stefano. So yeah, no real connection between the fragrances. I'll be treating them nonetheless as single fragrances, and I'll be giving you my first impressions. Once again, I'll be spraying 2 sprays on the strip, bringing it to my nose, talking a little bit about what I'm getting, and ultimately I'll give it a first impression score, 1 to 10. Okay, first fragrance is Io non ho mani che mi accarezzano il volto, and that translated means I don't have hands to caress my face. So that's cryptic, that's weird. We'll see what I get. Give it 2 sprays. First of all, incredibly strong, like incredibly strong. This is very, very different from what I smelled last time. As I mentioned, a lot of the fragrances from last time have this very foggy, misty vibe. This is characterized by a ton of spice. The first thing that comes to mind that is hitting my nose like a dump truck is clove and possibly black pepper. There's a ton of spice in here. It smells like a spice market. Very beautiful. I really like this. Very, very strong first impression, both in power, because this thing hits like a baseball bat, and in scent profile. It's very unique. I've never smelled something so bold, so boldly spicy. This is really like unapologetically spicy. This smells like you open a jar of like cloves or tea or something very, very pungent, very nose itching. The cloves are so photorealistic. They have this balsamic quality. If you don't like cloves, if you don't like cinnamon, if you don't like black pepper, I would say this is definitely not for you. It leans heavily spice market, heavily like African, maybe Middle Eastern, but given that Filippo Sorcinelli is all about Catholic religion, there must be some sort of a tie in there. There must be something about it. The name of the fragrance, as per Filippo Sorcinelli's tradition, very cryptic, doesn't really give much away. So I don't have the hands to caress my face. I don't know what that means. I have no idea. This is definitely one of the fragrances that I would like to look up to see the explanation. And also, like many other Filippo Sorcinelli fragrances, this one here, I feel that it has a lot to give in the backbone. And all I'm getting right now is this massive flux of spices, but I do feel that there has to be something in the dry down, which is a little bit of a deviation from the opening, because if this stays like this, and this honestly smells like one of those very long lasting scents, this could be an insanely fatiguing thing to wear because it's very, very potent. It's so potent that I'm almost getting a headache. Potential headache aside, this is right up my alley. And based on the scores that I gave the other ones last time, and I normalized the scores at the end of the video, this is a very strong opening. I would say this is a 7.5. I definitely need a way to reset my olfactory system after that one, because that one really was intense. Okay, next fragrance, Violon Basse 16. If I recall correctly, this one here is from the musical collection from Filippo Sorcinelli. I have no idea what the background of that is. I just remember that he has like a musical collection. Violon Basse, from the name, I'm expecting something a little bit woody. I don't know why the first thing that comes to mind is Bowmakers by Diaz and Durga, but given my brief experience with Filippo Sorcinelli, I'm expecting a lot more abstraction. Let's see where this goes. Okay, so I mentioned Bowmakers by Diaz and Durga, which is a fragrance that I have and love. This one here, absolutely nothing like that, but there is some woodiness in there. There is some woody concept, like a wooden instrument, like a violin. But the way it's put together is completely different. This has a very strong animalic component to it. I don't know if it's like a dirty violin or it's supposed to be like a dirty musician. But the perverted side of Filippo Sorcinelli is definitely coming through in this one here. There's wood in here, that camphorous lacquer type of wood, but this is accompanied by that ever-present pissy note from Filippo Sorcinelli. This was a common note in my other fragrances that I sampled. I don't really know where this is going. I don't really know what the theme of this is. It kind of reminds me of Figment Man, that pissiness combined with that like rotten woodiness. It has this like rotten forest floor type of smell, or maybe some sort of like a decaying basement wooden beam or something like that. There is a moldiness in here. There's almost like a mushroom-like smell. I think there's some sort of a patchouli. It's really interesting. As per a lot of Filippo Sorcinelli fragrances, I would not say that this is wearable. This is very weird. I'm just really curious about the concept behind this. So yes, it's a dirty musician for sure, but as the scent is even initially drying down, that pissy note is fading and I get a lot more of that lacquered woody note. In a way, this has an elegance to it, But this is definitely not something that you would want to wear to any elegant place, if you get me. You would not want to wear this to a concert, to the theater. Please don't, just don't. It's more of an evocative scent. It has to be related to some sort of imagery. The only thing that comes to mind is like the backstage of some sort of like old-fashioned theater where everything is kind of wooden, creaking, there is a little bit of mold, and the actors and musicians are standing behind the curtain, kind of like sweaty and nervous. Wow, I really painted a picture there, huh? Once again, pretty interesting. I like it a lot. I would say strong 7 out of 10. As I mentioned in my last video, these fragrances are quite fatiguing to smell. They're very abstract. It's very difficult to get a smell of this and try to explain it, trying to piece it out. These are definitely not meant for this type of sampling experience. And I really want to stress that I'm not making these scents justice in any way. This is kind of like fragrance art, and it should be experienced in a full wear, potentially on skin, in a more like Zen-like environment, just not one after the other like this. But still, let's not take it too seriously and let's have some fun. Next scent, we have Lux Visionaria. And the title doesn't really say much other than visionary light. I have no idea what that is referring to. Must be something, again, religious. This one here is probably one of the more wearable from the ones that I smelled. It's very incensey. You have to like incense, but there's a sweet undertone in here. There's like a vanillic undertone. There's maybe, I don't know why I'm getting like an almondy undertone. I'm definitely reaching with this one, but this fragrance really has a gourmand aspect to it. Very remote, but it reminds me kind of Memoirs of a Trespasser from Imaginary Authors. It has that woody barrel type of thing, the vanilla going on. There's a lot of incense in the background. This is clean, boozy, powdery, and the powderiness is also very common in Filippo Sorcinelli's work as far as I've sampled. He uses a ton of dry iris, a ton of baby powder type of thing. It's quite good. This is definitely one of the more approachable ones. This is definitely one of the more easy to wear ones, but compared to some of the easy to wear ones in the last batch, I'm not bored. This is very intriguing. And the scent profile is right up my alley. I love incense. As it's drying down, it almost comes across as rose incense by Amouage. It has the same very white, very smoky, very enveloping type of incense smoke. It's very zen, very meditative, very relaxing. And again, Memoirs of a Trespasser, I define that fragrance as kind of like the ultimate hippie fragrance. And this is definitely more churchy, more religious, but it definitely has the same sort of a calming vibe, and I would definitely not be offended if I were to smell this while doing yoga, breathing exercises, or meditation. Yeah, it's beautiful. Powdery incense, woodiness, very delicate, very serene. I like it a lot. I would say 7 out of 10. These fragrances are really potent. There's a whole scent cloud in this room, but nonetheless, we move on. Next fragrance is Quando rapita in estasi, which translated means when kidnapped in ecstasy. So yeah, there you go. Another weird, quirky, edgy, contrasting title. We'll see where this one goes. Another really incensey one, another really spicy, powdery one. Yeah, definitely spicy. Compared to the first one I smelt, which is still giving me PTSD, this one here doesn't have as much clove. This one has a lot more cinnamon. I don't know why the first thing that came to mind when smelling this was those dumb cinnamon challenges that people were doing, the spoonful of cinnamon in your mouth. Very, very spicy, very oriental, very in your face. But there's something else in the background. There's a little bit of a woody note. There's a little bit of a woody nuance. It smells like fresher wood, smells like sawdust on the floor, smells a little bit like a wooden house, maybe like a wooden mountain hut, or maybe like a wooden church in this case. Really interesting. I really like this. There's something about it that comes out really well designed, really well put together. Ooh, the cinnamon is back. And this time it's in the form of like a very artificial kind of like fake cinnamon, like a red hot candy. like a very fake cinnamon bubblegum or something like that. Very dusty. I like this a lot. This is very intriguing. This is the type of scent profile that I would definitely wear. I don't find this offensive. I mean, it is very loud, very in your face, but it's not a dirty smell whatsoever. This is woody, it's cinnamon heavy, it's powdery, very dry. I would guess that this on skin would wear very light and dry, kind of like Taoist fragrances. Very exciting smell, beautiful, wow. This is beautiful, I really like this. What was the name of this thing again? Quando rapita in estasi. When kidnapped, ecstatic? That just sounds wrong. Nonetheless, scent is great. I really like it. This is a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, 2 left. This is definitely a memorable experience. This one here is Contre Bombarde 32. Title is again cryptic, artistic. I have no idea what this is about. This is another powdery, spicy one. Oh my God, it's so strong. I think I need a break. I don't know what this is, but it's incredibly potent. It feels like I'm snorting sulfuric acid or something like that. This is burning my nostrils. It's so potent that I can barely smell it. Let me see. Very powdery, very spicy. This one hits like a jackhammer. It's, I like the scent profile, but it's way too strong. It's powdery, it's incensey, it has sort of the same vibe as the previous one. Very, very harsh, hot spice, very aggressive. Combined with like this incensey, powdery note, very dry, very comforting, very zen. This is like a toxic relationship, a slap in the face and a kiss on the cheek, let me tell you. Wow. I like this, it's very potent. I'm not really sure I'm ready to describe much else. I'm not really sure I can get much else, but the scent profile itself, beautiful, beautiful. Beautifully made, absolutely intriguing. Once again, 0 animalics. You have to definitely like incense. You have to like that powdery dryness, that massive amount of like baby powder. It's almost chalky, it's so dry. The sweetness in here does definitely not smell like that sweet incense that I described sometimes as smoke machine smoke or like e-cigarette vape or something like that. This is a much more natural type of a sweetness. It comes from the spices. The spices in this are the main player. Very, very spicy, very peppery, very cinnamony, very hot spice. It almost feels like hot pepper. Now that I'm just breathing kind of away from it, I almost feel that my nose has been like burnt by hot pepper, by like hot spice. This is absolutely beautiful. I think that this is my favorite till now. I know it's super potent, but if you go easy on the sprays, it will probably also work a lot better on skin because the skin will sort of like moisturize this thing. I think I'm gonna wear this on skin later. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. 7.5 out of 10. Last fragrance from the Discovery set, it's Reliquia. It's the lightest one from the latter 6. I'm kind of hoping for something a little bit lighter, a little bit fresher, like a palate cleanser, because those last 2 were extremely potent. Okay, so I either completely obliterated my nostrils with the previous one, or this is indeed very light. Definitely very incensey, as the name would suggest, Reliquia, which by the way means relic. There's a beautiful fogginess to this, but it's not like dewy fog like the previous 6 from the previous video. It's more like a very churchy type of incense. You can almost hear the mass in the background, like this sort of like reverb of a prayer. It's so delicate, so serene, so beautiful. I like these fragrances a lot, but as you may know, I'm a huge sucker for incense. It's my favorite note, so this is an easy win for me. It's incredible because they're all insanely incense forward, and yet they're not really redundant one with another. I would really want to own them all and kind of like wear them like one after the other to really get the full experience and to see what all these are about. Filippo Sorcinelli is a very intentional artist. I feel that his art, his meaning is very rooted, is very grounded. So I definitely want to go look at these on the website. I really want to dig a little bit deeper into meaning. And I really want to understand what the concept is behind these. I wish it could be a fly in the wall in the moment where he was coming up with this stuff. Very intriguing, very fascinating. Wow. I feel that Reliqua is definitely one of the more predictable ones from the bunch. This is ultimately a very churchy scent, and it's very well done, very photorealistic, very evocative, but I don't think there's much to that other than the incredibly well done churchy vibe. While touring the city with relatives, while showcasing the city to friends from abroad, I visited many churches in Rome, and a lot of them really smell like this. It has this kind of a cold, damp atmosphere. It's not the smell itself, but there's this coldness, almost like cold rock, like wet rock. It's almost like an ancient type of humidity. Beautiful. So realistic. So fascinating. You almost smell like dusty books in the background. Very evocative in the imagery department. Maybe because I've experienced something like this. I'm not religious by any means, by the way. But I just find this insanely fascinating. Very beautiful, very evocative. I would say this is a 7 out of 10. Once again, I think I have to normalize the scores because they're all very good. I would bring them all up at least half a score. I would say that the last two very spicy incenses were the highlight for me. Even the first one that I smelled, that like knock in the face, that like clove club to the face, was very beautiful. But we're not done yet, because in the package I discovered 2 more samples. And apparently these were sent as an apology because one of the samples was defective. So yeah, we got 2 more. Fun times. Okay, first bonus fragrance is Enu Noir. I have no idea what this is about, but I guess we're about to find out. Nice change of pace, let me tell you, right away. Beautiful. Fresh, fruity, a little bit dewy, a little bit incensey. Here it comes. The powderiness, that musky powderiness. I can't really decide what this is reminding me of, but fragrance experience-wise, scent profile-wise, this smells a lot like the dry down for L'air du désert marocain by Andy Tower. It has that same dusty, kind of like funky flavor to it. It might be a little bit of like an ambergris accord, like a marine type of accord in here. The fruitiness is almost gone. It's been replaced almost instantly by some sort of a green oily note, maybe like salvia, maybe like rosemary, maybe some other like green spice like thyme. This is still spicy, but it's a lot tamer. It's a lot greener. The rosemary mixed with the incense, it's almost giving it a little bit of a green mold type of flavor, a little bit acidic, a little bit bitter. It's definitely a welcome change from the other ones. I would say that this immediately, with the funky marine note, with that bitterness, comes across as way less wearable than the other ones. Although very beautiful and very delicate, this is definitely the least exciting from the bunch. Maybe I'm fatigued, maybe it's the time of the day, which is very late, but I'm not really feeling this one here. It's good. Would I be offended if I got a bottle of this? No, this is still interesting to me, but it definitely has way less of a wow effect compared to those monsters from before. It's a good fragrance. I like it a lot, actually. It's very delicate, very well done. Typical Filippo Sorcinelli fashion. I feel that the theme for the previous 6 from the previous video, part 1, was the fog. And in this, we definitely have the incense, the heavy, dusty incense. Overall score for this, pre-normalization, I would say 6.5 out of 10, maybe post-normalization, maybe like a 7. Last fragrance from this sample set. This is my last Filippo Sorcinelli. I can already tell you that I'm very, very intrigued by the house. I'll probably be ordering my own discovery set so I can take my time with it. I can sample the scents, wear them on skin, and just like really go through the samples themselves. It's a beautiful house, very intriguing. I think that he is charismatic, mysterious, edgy. I really want to know more about the house. But on to the last fragrance. This one here is Né il giorno né l'ora, which means neither the day nor the hour. And if you haven't noticed, I kind of gave up trying to find the meaning in the titles, so I'll just take it as it is. Wow, what a way to close this off. This is very, very different from anything I smell today. Fruity, fresh. Wow, fresh, really. This is a breath of fresh air, quite literally. I feel like I've been closed up in a basement for 10 years with all that incense, with all that dustiness. And I'm for the first time smelling the fresh air. This is so different from anything else. Wow, I'm so surprised. It has some citruses, it has some sweet fruit, maybe like peach, maybe like an apricot. There's definitely some flowers in here. Very fresh, very dewy once again. But it's not like wet dewy, it's just kind of like humid air, like humid compared to all the incense at least. In the back of this, I can already pick up some muskiness, but it's very, very slight, non-offensive. It's kind of like a furry, woody muskiness. Very similar to something like Zerjov has in many fragrances. This is actually really good. As crazy as this sounds, this fragrance almost reminds me of Zerjov Accento, but in a much more modest, much more elegant type of approach. It's so delicate, especially compared to the stuff I smelled before, that this almost comes across as fragile. I like this a lot. This is very beautiful. But I have to say that this is not my cup of tea. If I were to smell this out of nowhere, this would never be my choice compared to anything else. I'm just very happy to end on this note. I feel much more relaxed, much more invigorated. This smells almost like a garden that has been rained on and it's sort of like drying up in the first rays of the morning. Beautiful, beautiful rendition. Once again, beautiful detail, beautifully simple. And I have to say that a lot of the imagery that I'm getting is from the more subtle, elegant scents. They really give this watercolor type of painting effect. Beautiful, delicate, very serene. There's something about incense, the powdery notes, the iris, something about how they work in your brain to like convey serenity, to convey tranquility, at least for me. Very beautiful. I would say this is a 7 out of 10. Again, not my cup of tea specifically, but it's a nice way to end this thing. Okay, so we hit the end wall. Once again, Filippo Sorcinelli, beautiful house, very evocative, very poetic, very romantic. I definitely have to sample more. I wish I could hold on to these samples a little bit more, wear them on skin, and get a better impression of this. I think that the next steps for me in the Filippo Sorcinelli house are definitely looking up the fragrances online, see what these are about, see if I connect with the meaning of them. I'll probably spring for a couple bottles while getting more samples. This type of scent profile has this heaviness, heavy atmosphere, but at the same time, it's so relaxing, so serene. It really speaks to me. I love incense. I love this type of atmospheric rendering. So yeah, very, very happy. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to smell this house. I'm very thankful to Stefano for the organization and just the whole thing that came together in a very beautiful way. Very interesting. I highly recommend you get your nose on Filippo Sorcinelli if you can. If anything that I talked about sounds appealing, this might be the next house for you. I really hope you like this format. If you have any comments, suggestions, or opinions, anything else, just leave it down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. Many more reviews to come. I'm really invested into this channel and I really like the engagement. Thanks again. See you in the next one. Cheers.